Welcome to our course, Microsoft Teams Owners for the Win. My name is Sarah, a training specialist here at Microsoft, and today we'll be exploring how to use Microsoft Teams to streamline your project and workgroup collaboration with teams and channels, the team and channel essentials for owners. After this session, you'll be able to create and set up a team, add and manage team members, add and manage channels, that includes private channels, and manage your team settings. So let's jump in, let's get started here. I'm logged into a demo tenant, logged in as Adele, she's my alter ego. And we're gonna begin by creating and managing these teams. And so let's start at the very bottom left corner, you'll see an option that says join or create a team. Kind of move my mouse here so you can see it bouncing. And the first thing you want to do is focus on this wizard, create a team. Now, this is a permission-based tool. So you may not have permission. That's okay. Reach out to your internal support. There may be a process of how teams are created within your organization. So that might be you creating them yourself, or maybe IT or your support desk is creating them, or your manager creates them and you inherit a team, or maybe there's a training process that you walk through before you have access to that. But what I want to show you is how this wizard works. So let's just click on it and walk through the process. So we can create a team from scratch, or we can use options to help us start that team. We can create it from an existing team if you want to do a copy, or you might have a Microsoft 365 group out there that you want to turn into a team. And then there's all kinds of templates that you can use as starters. So that's a great way to jumpstart the process. When you create a team can be private or public. A private team means that team owners are in charge of who has access and what are the different rules and settings. And so a private team is not open to everybody. Only the owners can let people in. A public team, though, anybody within your organization can join. So it's open to the whole organization. They can let themselves in as needed. Org-wide teams are a little bit different. They're just a special type of public team. With an org-wide team, it's going to automatically let people in. So as people are added to or removed from the Active Directory or that tenant, they'll be added to the public org-wide team. So those are some options. And then when you create the team, you're simply going to give the team a name and a description. There may be some naming conventions, some best practices within your organization. So I encourage you to reach out to your internal support and find out, hey, are there any naming conventions, best practices, or descriptions that we should use? But otherwise, it's very simple, straightforward wizard. So let's just say that you are the owner of Northwest Team. Maybe you built it from scratch, or maybe you inherited it. That happens a lot. It says, hey, thanks for being the owner. All right. As an owner, one of the things you're going to want to do is click on the ellipsis, the three dots. This is going to give you more actions. It's a more actions menu or a more options menu. And there's some things I want to draw your attention to. One of them is called Manage Team. You'll see this gear icon. The gear icon always means settings. So when you see that gear icon, it means that there's setting options that are available. You can add channels or manage channels. You can manage members, add members here. You can also edit the team. This would be handy if you wanted to rename the team. I've done that where I misspelled the name. I got to go back and fix that. Or sometimes I've got some teams, I set it up as a private team and I want to turn it into a public team. Maybe I set it up as private on purpose because I want to build it out first before people can find it. And I switch it to a public team now that it's ready for everybody to find and join as they need. You can also delete the team. Okay, now before you think about deleting a team, I do encourage you to reach out to your internal support and find out, hey, are there any best practices? But let me give you a scenario. Let's say that you built this project team and the project's finished and it's actually been finished for 6 months, a year, and it's time to put it away. So do you delete that team or do you archive it? And there's probably going to depend on the governance or the best practice of your organization. So that's why I would say reach out. If you delete it, it's gone. So that's one option. If you archive it, it's not gone. It gets compressed and it gets in a read-only format, but then you can still access it down the road. And if you were going to archive it, let me just show you at the bottom. We were here just a little bit earlier. It says join or create. There's that gear icon again. Let's click on that. This shows us a bird's eye view of all the teams and channels you're in. This is actually pretty handy. And you can see if you're an owner or a member, you can see people, you can see if it's a private team or if it's an org-wide or public team. And let's go back to this one called Northwest Teams over here. Here's an ellipsis. So this is where you could archive the team. And if you archive the team, are you sure you want to do this? You can still get it back, but it's going to compress everything, right? Maybe even make it a read-only. I actually have a couple of teams I've archived, and you can even bring out these teams. You can unarchive them. I think I need to be an owner, though, of that if I wanted to restore the team. Let's see, here's one where I'm not an owner. Yeah, see? Limited options as an owner versus member. All right, let's go back to our team, Northwest team that we're exploring here. And you are the owner, and we're going to actually take a closer look at the manage teams. So again, you click on the ellipsis or the more options next to Northwest team. You go to the gear icon, manage team. And at the top, you're going to see these tabs: members, pending requests, channels, settings, etc. And these are going to be different ways to access your tools. So this is just another way to get to your members. And we can see a list of the members. In fact, we have more than one owner. That could be a really good best practice, is to have more than one owner, at least 2, maybe even 5, depending on the size of your team, maybe 20. I've seen some teams that have, a huge amount of members. And you can take members and you can promote them. So let's say that Patty is going to be gone, she leave. We want her to be our owner in her place. So we're just going to go and click on the drop down, make Henrietta an owner. There we go. So now she has been promoted. Patty's back. Hey, Patty, welcome back. Henrietta, thanks for your service. We can actually change her status back to member at any time as well. You can also add people. So let's use this feature to add. Maybe I want to bring in Miriam. Bring in Miriam. And when I add Miriam in, I can bring her in as a member or as an owner. So you have some options in there. And you can also remove people. Let's give Miriam a chance to make it here. Looks like it's spinning. I see it coming. Here she is. All right. So if we want to remove people, we can do this as well. Oh, here it is. The X. There you go. Click on that. I also want to point out that your teams can have guests. So a guest is somebody outside of your organization. You might have clients or partners or customers or whomever that is outside your organization. You can bring those folks in. Irvin is a guest. He cannot be an owner, but he can definitely be a contributor to this process as well. Now, Alex is a member, not an owner. Alex is inside the organization. He works with Lee, and Alex would like to bring Lee in. So if you were a member, you can actually use this option to request access. Let me show you what pending requests looks like. This would be where in a private team, you have people who are requesting access. In this case, Lee was recommended by Alex. So I can see that Alex requested access, but only the owners can accept or deny that request. So keep that in mind, because this is a private team. That's what the eyeball means, by the way. Kind of creepy, but that's what the eyeball means, private team. As opposed to something like Building Alerts. Building Alerts is a public team. Anybody could let themselves in or add people in. The exception to the rule is guests. You do have to be an owner to let guests into a private or public team. All right, let's take a closer look at channels. So here we see a list of all the channels that are in the team. You can have 200 channels, and you can also access the channels, or let me rephrase that. You can make channels public for your team members. Say, okay, when anybody joins a team, I want them to see these channels by default. Now, channels can be deleted. So let's say here's safety protocols. Let's see what happens. Let's delete this channel. If a channel is deleted, the files are still accessible, but the content of the channel is gone. That's why you're getting this warning message, although deleted channels can be restored. So let's just take a closer look at this. We'll delete this channel. Uh-oh, right? And if we scroll down here, we'll see our deleted channels. Oh, it's taking a little bit of time. It'll come back. We'll see our deleted channels here in a moment, and then we can restore it. Today it's being just a little bit slow. Let's see if I refresh, if that'll update it. But the cool thing is, though, if you restore a channel, then it comes back, you get all the content, which is really handy. Here it is. And you can get all that content back. The grace period, I don't know exactly how long it lasts. It might be about 90 days, but that could also be customized within your organization. Say, all right, this is going to restore everything. Fantastic. Okay. You can also use this process to add channels. This is another way to add a channel. Remember that channels can be, it can have letters, can have numbers and special characters. It's like a web page. And if you want it to be sorted at the top, you might use special characters like this exclamation point, welcome. You could call this something like volunteers. How about that? A volunteers channel. And then you could set up a description if needed. By default, everybody has access to these standard channels. That's the design. You can also automatically show this channel. So when anybody joins the team, they're going to see this channel. And then also it's going to promote it so that now that it's a brand new channel, you want it to show up in everybody's list. So you could do something like that. Now the privacy here, it says a standard channel. You can change this to a private channel. So a private channel is not accessible to everybody. You're going to add in folks as needed. It's only to a specific group of people within the team. But you do have to be a team member before you can be a private channel member. So private channels are for a subset of the larger team. So for example, Lee, we have not let Lee into the team yet. We have to let Lee into the team before we can let Lee into the private channel. Miriam, we removed Miriam. So we'd have to bring Miriam back in before we could add her to the private channel. So those are the rules. And we have some private channels. If it has a padlock, that's how you know it's a private channel. That you know that. You're only going to see private channels in this list if you have access to them. So there could be some items in here that you don't have access to. Let me just point something out. Remember that I'm logged in as an owner of this team. And here's the facilities channel, which you don't see here. There are private channels that Adele doesn't have access to. As an owner, I can find out who are the channel owners. I might want to reach out. I can't manage this channel, but I could delete it if I was trying to clean it up a little bit. So there are some options in here behind the scenes, but regularly as a member, you're only going to see the private channels that you have access to. Let's go here to building management. So here's our channel. It has a few limitations. It doesn't have all the same options as a standard channel, but it's designed to be, again, this island of security. Now, the private channel itself, you click on the ellipsis, it has its own managed channel feature, has its gear icon. And when you open this up, you can access membership. So you can bring people in or remove people, have owners of the private channel. You can even bring in guests, but your guest can't be an owner. Just FYI on that. All right. Now let's take a closer look at the actual standard channels, because the standard channels also have settings. And as a team owner, you are responsible for those settings. So by default, when you open up the managed channel, the gear icon, they have accessibility for everybody. So that means that channel moderation is off. Everybody has accessibility. Everyone can start a new post. Even guests by default, Irvin, he can start a new post and contribute, etc. So all that stuff that's set up. Let's take a closer look here at forecasting, because I think I added some moderation. Let's go and manage channel here. So if you turned on moderation, You might do that if you wanted to make the conversation a little bit more controlled. So in this case, only the owners, and then I also added Pradeep as a moderator, only those folks can start a new post. Do I want people to be able to reply? So then the next question is this going to be a post where we get lots of feedback, or is it more static where we're posting out announcements or information and people can access that information as well? So you can make this very collaborative. That's what it is by default. Or you could start making it a little bit more moderated, limited. Maybe something like the welcome channel. Maybe this is a channel that you want to be more static. It's designed to be more of an FAQ welcome as opposed to something where there's a lot going on. Although maybe I want to allow members to reply, because maybe here's where I'm going to post, hey, everybody, welcome Julie to the channel. And then people can chat in. Hi, Julie, we're so glad you're here. So you have some ways to organize that. General channels is a special channel. Every team has a general channel. You can't delete it. You can't remove it. You can't change the name. So it'll always be there. But one of the things that you can do with a general channel is you can turn it off so that only owners can post messages. So that's something that you may want to do. Or you can make that channel a little more engaging and allow everybody to use it. I tend to turn off the general channel because I want to gently remind people to use the other channels that we've created. So just a little FYI that you have some options in there. All right, let's go back one more time to our manage team settings, right? So this is going to be the big picture. I want to take a closer look at settings in here. This is a great place for you owners to take a closer look. Maybe on a regular basis, maybe it's once a month or once a quarter, do a settings audit just to make sure that you're in alignment. And the first thing you may want to do is explore the picture. The picture is actually a very simple way to give your team some identity. It also helps people find it. So you'll notice as I scroll through, some of the pictures really are easier to see than just the quick picture color bar, right? So think about that as a way to bring identity. The other thing you might want to explore is the member permissions. By default, everything is checked, everything's turned on. That means that your team members can create channels, they can create private channels and delete channels. So one of the things I did is I actually removed that process. I said, you know what, I don't want people accidentally deleting or restoring channels. I don't want people creating private channels. So you could set something up like that. You could also turn off options for apps or tabs, or even remove the ability for people to delete their own messages. I kind of prefer having them be able to delete and edit their messages. They can't delete and edit other people's stuff, only their own comments in there. We also have options for the guest permission. So our guest, Irvin, do we want Irvin to be able to create and update channels, delete channels? At mentions. So in any team or channel, you can use mentions as a way to promote a conversation or a topic to the group. Mentions send activity alerts, and I find them to be very helpful, very useful, although sometimes they are overused. Sometimes they generate a lot of noise because people are at mentioning every single thing. And you can just turn that off. If you're seeing a little bit too much of at mentions, you could turn that feature off maybe. But I would recommend doing some training and just for awareness and saying, hey, here's how we're going to use them. Here's our best practice. I find that they're really handy for a channel-based level, and then maybe only the owners are able to send them to the entire team. So you have some choices in there. Team code, this is a really great thing to consider. Team codes is a way that you can share access. You can let people join your private team. Just generate a code of a manager who loves this feature. She'll do an onboarding session, then she'll send out an email blast and will say, hey, here's the code. It's good for 24 hours, 72 hours, what have you. And she'll just copy that code into the email blast. And then you can always remove that code and it will start fresh. Remember that guests are not able, the guest would be somebody outside your network. They're not able to join the team just on their own. You have to be an owner to let a guest into the team. That's a good security policy. Fun stuff has to do with graphics. Your IT admin is going to set a global standard on graphics, and they can be moderate or strict. As a team owner, you can make it even more strict if you wanted to. You could turn them all off, or in this case, I switched it from moderate to strict. Maybe your team does have access to the outside world. You have customers who are looking in, so you might want to change some of these parameters. So those are some options. And then one last thing I want to point out has to do with tags. So tags are a way that you can send a message to a group of people. Let's just take a closer look here at manage tags. So you can set up tags. In this case, we got some for budget, comms, manager, and then people can mention. I want to send out an alert to everybody who's on the comms team, the communications team as well. By default, only owners can create and add or remove people from the tags. Anybody can use the tags, but only owners are able to create those tags. You could change that though to be team owners and members. So these are some settings that you might want to explore in your settings. And then there's a couple other things like analytics. This is kind of a nice overview, bird's eye view of what's happening, the health of your team. And then apps is simply a review of what apps are being applied. You're not able to manage the apps or change them, but it does give you some insight about what apps are being used in this particular team and channel. And you can always use this information to reach out to your IT admin if you want to go a little bit deeper on the health of your team and channel as well. Now, we've been exploring lots of great ways to stay connected. And another great way for you is to use the help tools at the bottom here. You'll see what's new and training and topics. And sometimes with this help, it's going to promote specific ideas, like I'm seeing some stuff for meetings, if we scroll down teams and channels. But you can also use this as a way to type in your own topic. So maybe you want to learn more about private channels. Just click on that, and it could give you a list of information. So it's great. It's built-in Office support right into your team and channel. The best way to learn Teams is to use it. And some recommended go-do activities that I have for you to help you continue learning would be to review your team membership, add a private channel, and explore your team and channel settings. So with that, I want to say thank you for viewing. Have a wonderful day.